Hello and welcome to our special Euro 2020 coverage here on France 24. Belgium and the Netherlands join Italy in the last 16 with a game to spare. Joining me on set to talk about all the day's action here on day 7 is James Vasina from our sports desk. We start with a game full of emotion and drama as Belgium come back from behind to beat Denmark 2-1 and book their place in the last 16 in a thrilling encounter in Copenhagen. Denmark returned to the Parken Stadium where midfielder Christian Eriksen collapsed during their opening game on Saturday. Play stopped in the 10th minute for a minute's applause for the 29-year-old. Denmark had gotten off to a dream start with Yusuf Poulsen taking advantage of a mistake in the Belgian defence to put his side ahead just 2 minutes in. The arrival of Kevin De Bruyne in the start of the second half changed the game for the Red Devils, setting up Thorgan Hazard in the 54th minute for the equaliser there, before firing home the winner with 20 minutes to go after a superb move started by Romelu Lukaku. James, it wasn't an easy win for Belgium. Denmark came close to equalising near the end, and a lot of problems at the back for Belgium. Is this going to be a concern for them?
Well, it's definitely a huge concern, and as we were saying, they scared themselves definitely towards the beginning of the game, and that defence really it was crumbling ever since from the very start. It could have been three goals to none within the first few minutes. We were looking at the defence there. It's an ageing side. And even later on, when Belgium did take control of the game, there were still those issues. They could not have ended on that score very, very easily. But the reality is, Belgium so far hasn't really been tested. They haven't actually fought against anyone from their side. Now, their next game is going to come up against Finland. That test is going to come in the form of Timo Pukki, who, of course, has been a huge player for Norwich. And that's going to be their first threat. We'll see how they get on, though, further on after that.
Indeed, I think we'll say that the favourites France will have been watching this evening. The big guns were needed to be brought on for Belgium, really, to secure that win.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing Hazard come back on, seeing De Bruyne come back on, that was great. Because in the reality before that, Lukaku in the start of the game was getting very, very few balls. That turned around afterwards, and Belgium definitely, it was a game of two halves. Turned around their play. Today, FIFA rank the Belgian side as the number 1 in the world. They're going to have to do more to prove this, definitely on the pitch.
Indeed, but very reassuring for the Belgians who have their talisman, Eden Hazard, back, and Kevin De Bruyne, who was really crucial to their game there. Roberto Martinez, Belgium's manager there, saying that his side showed a lot of character this evening.
It took us probably 20 minutes to start being ourselves. We couldn't get through almost that desire, that heart and that pressure that the Danish team put. And that's expected in a way. They were playing at home. They needed to win to qualify. And I felt that the first half was a lot of emotion involved that probably took away what we can do on a football pitch.
As Martinez touched on there, James, obviously we have to give a lot of credit to the Danes coming back into the stadium after the shocking scenes we saw at the weekend, and they really gave it their all this evening.
They did. As we were saying right from the start, they could have netted 3 goals there. I don't know what it was, but definitely you could see that they were energised. It was like there was an extra player there. It was definitely really, really nice. It would have been really nice for Eriksen to see all of that going, and I think they definitely wanted to leave the incident, push it back behind, show that they weren't going to be, as a team, obviously they are affected, but they show that they can move forward with it. And in reality, as we said, the score could have been very different for them.
Indeed, a good result for the Belgians. We're going to look at how that result leaves Group B. The Red Devils, of course, are on top with 6 points. Everything hinges on the final game next Monday for Russia and Finland, who are both on 3 points. Russia are in the stronger position for qualification as they take on Denmark. Finland will have a tough task as they play Belgium, who will obviously be wanting to secure that top place for qualification. Now let's turn our attention to Group C. The Netherlands also booking their spot in the last 16 with 2 wins out of 2. The Dutch eased past their opponents Austria 2-0 at the Johan Cruyff Arena. Memphis Depay put the hosts ahead from the penalty spot 11 minutes in. Then wing-back Denzel Dumfries added a second from a quick break in the 68th minute. That's, as we said, 2 wins out of 2 for the Netherlands. James, a very good result for a team that hadn't qualified for a major competition in 7 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got on to it was a fiery start right from the beginning. Not much of a change in terms of the formation, definitely sticking to that 3-5-2. However, seeing De Ligt back on, that was an absolute game changer for them. Definitely playing a hugely crucial part there. De Jong, Wijnaldum, top form. Dumfries, of course, showing us really that he's there when they need them throughout this tournament so far in those 2 games. There is, though, they did open the score thanks to that penalty, and it did seem, though, for a while that they were really counting on that 1 goal to be able to go forwards. They did manage to double that lead, but there were, of course, some huge misses in there, and they can't afford to do this going on, because in the same way, if they're going to be playing up bigger opponents as they go along, this can't happen. They can't allow these kind of misses.
Definitely a potential dark horse in this year's tournament. And that brings us to Group C's other game. Ukraine bounced back after their opening defeat to beat tournament debutants North Macedonia in Bucharest. Captain Andriy Yarmolenko scored after 28 minutes, capitalising on poor defending from a corner. Andriy Shevchenko's side doubled their lead 5 minutes later as Yarmolenko set up Roman Yarmochuk, who slotted in his shots into the bottom corner. North Macedonia pulled one back in the 57th minute with Aliski scoring the rebound blocked from his penalty. Ukraine will be very happy to have won. They were just 1 defeat away from recording the longest ever losing streak in the competition's history. And that loss for North Macedonia means they are the first team to be eliminated from Euro 2020. They will finish in the bottom spot regardless of their result in their game against the Netherlands. Both Austria and Ukraine have 3 points and will be fighting it out in a tense clash next week for 2nd place. Now, just before we leave you, we are going to take a look at Sunday's programme. A big day in Group D with both England and the Czech Republic gunning to book their places in the last 16. The Czechs face the World Cup finalist Croatia in Glasgow. Croatia are under a lot of pressure after losing their opening match, and the anticipation is running high ahead of the Three Lions encounter with Scotland at Wembley. James, a big match that obviously a lot of people are looking forward to. Do the Tartan Army have a chance to cause an upset?
I don't see much trouble coming in England's way. I don't see how Scotland is really going to cause much of an upset. They were hammered in their first game by the Czech Republic, and that's not because of bad play. They didn't have what they needed going forwards. They put on. It was a great game. It was a great game, but I don't see how coming up against England. Maguire is supposedly going to be back tomorrow. It's going to make things even harder for them. So I think it's going to be a tough challenge. If I was going to go anywhere, I'd go for a 3-0 win for England tomorrow.
3-0 win, a very comfortable prediction from our James Vasina from the sports desk. We'll have to see tomorrow how that goes. That wraps up our daily Euro 2020 show on day 7. A big thank you to our very own James Vasina for his analysis. Big wins for Belgium and the Netherlands, who are through to the last 16 alongside Italy. We'll be back to bring you all the latest action on Friday. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more news here on France 24.